Okay, thanks everybody for your patience. Good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting this Monday evening, January 12th. I now call this meeting to order. Please rise with us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. City Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Certainly, Mayor Lorraine.
For a moment.
Councilmember Diaz-Nash.
Here.
Councilmember Svenko-Goditsky.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Fernandez.
Here.
Mayor Lorraine.
Here.
Councilmember Newsom.
Here. Thank you. We are excited to be here in person, here at the San Mateo Main Library. Thank you for finding us. With options for those who choose not to be in person and still may participate virtually. This meeting is being held here in the Oak Room at the San Mateo Main Public Library due to construction at City Hall. I'd like to share a few logistical reminders to help our meeting here run smoothly. So for those of us in the room, please note that at 8 o'clock, and as I see our timing, we're about 7:20. So after 8 o'clock, the library technically closes out here. We'll continue in here, but staff asks that everyone, if you exit, please exit through these doors as opposed to into the library there. For parking, after 8 o'clock, the stairwell to the parking garage will be locked. But there is an elevator, and so if you do exit out these doors and make a left, you'll see that there's an elevator into the parking garage. So just make sure you use that and select level P1 or P2 to access the garage. If you're joining us via Zoom, please check your microphone volume before participating in public comment. We have MCTV in the back helping us with audio and visual in our temporary quarters, and they will continue monitoring audio to ensure clear sound for all participants. Thank you for your cooperation and for helping us maintain an efficient and accessible meeting environment. In order to participate with public comment later, for those attending in person, you can complete a yellow request to speak slip and hand it to our city clerk, Mr. McTaggart, who's showing you there. If you're participating remotely on Zoom, please use your raise your hand feature and you'll be called on at the appropriate time. If you're calling in via phone, press *9 to raise your hand. And when you're called upon, please press *6 to unmute. These options for public comment will remain available until I close public comment periods for each specific item. And just a note, if you are joining us on YouTube, please note that we don't currently have a live public comment feature on YouTube itself, so you can give public comment through Zoom remotely. Please join the Zoom webinar, and that information is on our agenda at the city website. So if you go to cityofsanmateo.org and find our meeting in the agenda, you can join us that way to give public comment. Very good. And at this point, we are going to start with a ceremonial item. And we have HIP Housing Calendar Award winners, a recognition of the winners of a contest, the award of which is to be displayed in this wonderful calendar from HIP Housing. And we have with us a board member from HIP Housing, Mr. Brian Perkins, and a winner as well.
A future board member of HIP Housing with me.
Woo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Brian Perkins. I'm on the board of HIP Housing, a nonprofit housing developer, which is headquartered proudly here in San Mateo. We appreciate all the long support that the city of San Mateo has offered to us. Just to give you a little update before we introduce our award winner, during fiscal year 24-25, HIP Housing served over 1,000 residents through our properties and programs, including 386 tenants under our property management program, 88 individuals who applied to the home sharing program, where people who have homes and spare rooms can sign up and get a lovely house guest to help them with their costs and things like that. We also helped 35 individuals through our housing readiness program. These are primarily seniors who get confused about how to get onto a waiting list or how to get into an affordable unit. HIP Housing takes them by the hand and leads them through the process. And finally, we served 20 families enrolled in our self-sufficiency program. In fact, in early December, about 6 of our self-sufficiency graduates marched right down there where you folks are sitting. You were here, Councilwoman Nash. These are people who start out with almost no wage. They're the people that are living at the edge for sure. And they come into HIP's program with a steep subsidy. And that subsidy sometimes even gives them rooms for $100 a month. They almost always have children. And over the course of time, after they sign an agreement, they go to school. They typically start out at the College of San Mateo, and then they go on to the community, to the state colleges. And they graduate from our self-sufficiency program. And at the time that you were here, and I think some of the others were here, we were graduating people who had masters in social work degrees, clinical social workers, people who are going to on to their next step in life after roughly 18 months to 5 years of education, all in the shelter of a HIP housing self-sufficiency program so that they can always be economically stable while they're focusing on studying and raising their families. So tonight, and we're going to be presenting our award winner. HIP Housing each year asks children from kindergarten through the 5th grade to come up with pictures that represent what home means to them, so that we as adults can understand through the child's eyes what it is when we have a home over their, a roof over their heads. And San Mateo this year has a winner, and this is Elena. And Elena is, her picture is in the month of September. So for those of you that have a calendar, you can see Elena. And there are calendars at the back for those of you who would like free calendars. There you go. And Elena is going to read her comments right after someone lowers the microphone for us. Okay.
Home, my sweet home. It's a place where I feel happy and safe. At home, I am free to play with my siblings, and it protects me from the rain and sun.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Elena, very good. And Elena's in 2nd grade. What school do you go to here? Sunnybray. So for Sunnybray fans, that's Elena. We want to definitely thank the City of San Mateo. As I said, you've been extraordinary partners in trying to create affordable housing opportunities. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions or do the traditional picture or however you would. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Perkins, and thank you, Elena, for joining us. I do have a certificate of recognition that I would like to present to Elena for winning this contest. I will bring it over and we could take a picture, and I would invite the council to join us in that photo.
Now we can stand it. Your picture.
Excellent. Thank you very much all for allowing us to celebrate. And we are now going to move beyond the ceremonial portion of tonight's meeting, which includes the business items being considered by the council. For that reason, I would just like to remind everyone in the room and online that we'll be enforcing our rules of decorum sort of from this point onward. As such, we do not allow for cheering, jeering, or booing during the business portion of the meeting, as this tends to put a chill on public comment. Our goal tonight is to ensure that all perspectives are heard. Our motto in the city of San Mateo is give respect, get respect, and we appreciate your cooperation with this. Thank you. And Mr. City Clerk, can you please read the consent calendar? That is the next portion of our agenda tonight.
Certainly, Mayor Lorraine. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion without discussion. If discussion is desired, that item may be removed and considered separately. Item number 2, City Council 2026 Regular Meeting Calendar Amendment. Item number 3, Fiscal Year 2025-26 Wastewater Treatment Plant Property Insurance Purchase Authorization. Item number 4, Ballot Measure Communications Consulting Services for the November 2026 General Election Agreement. Item number 5, San Mateo City Employees Association Side Letter of Agreement regarding Retirement Health Savings Account Approval. Item number 6, San Mateo Management Employees Association Side Letter of Agreement regarding Retirement Health Savings Account Approval. Item number 7, updates to Principal and Senior Transportation Planner Job Specifications and Senior Planner Salary Schedule Approval. Item number 8, Sewer Flush Truck Replacement and Stormwater Combination Truck Procurement Agreements. Item number 9, Local Roadways Safety Plan, Grant Acceptance, Appropriation, Budget Transfer, and Agreement. Item number 10, Citywide Facilities Condition Assessment Project, Budget Appropriation. Item number 11, Clean Water Program Labor Compliance Consultant Amendment. Item number 12, Polymer Injection System Project Design and Engineering Services during Construction Agreement. And Mayor Lorraine, that concludes the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. City Clerk. Is there a member of the council who would like to pull any item from the consent calendar? Seeing none, are there any members of the public who may wish to comment on any consent calendar item? If you'd like to, please, if you're in the room, get a speaker slip, or really maybe just come to the podium and make sure to fill out the speaker slip afterward. And if you're on Zoom, you may raise your hand at this time. This is for consent calendar items only, just what the city clerk read a moment ago. Mr. City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
Mayor Lorraine, we have no requests to speak in the room, and we have no hands raised in our virtual environment.
Okay, in that case, I'll close public comment for consent calendar and ask if there is a motion from council to approve the calendar.
So moved.
Second. Thank you very much. City Clerk, may you please call the roll call vote?
Certainly. Deputy Mayor Fernandez?
Aye.
Councilmember Svirko-Goditsky?
Yes.
Councilmember Diaz-Nash?
Yes.
Mayor Lorraine?
Yes.
And Councilmember Newsom?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we will move on to the next item in our agenda, which is for general public comment. Members of the public who wish to comment on any item that's not on our agenda tonight may address the City Council at this time. State law prevents council from taking action on any matter that's not on the agenda, but your comments may be referred to staff for follow-up. This public comment section is generally limited to a total of 15 minutes, but that is subject to council discretion and can be extended if council wishes to do so. If needed, an opportunity for additional public comment may be provided later in the agenda. City Clerk, can you please tally the number of requests to speak?
Certainly, Mayor Lorraine. Currently, I only have 2 requests to speak in council or in our in-person environment. If you wish to speak on the general public comment, please provide me with a request to speak slip now. We will be closing the request to speak period. In our virtual environment, we have 2 requests to speak, and I have 1 organized presentation. So we'll give you just a few more moments to raise your hand or submit a request to speak slip. Seeing none, that's a total of 4 requests to speak with 1 organized presentation. So per council adopted rules and procedures, we will begin with our organized presentation in the room, and thereafter we will move to our 3 minutes per speaker limit. So we'll invite our first speaker, which is our organized presentation from Tasso Zagrafis on behalf of Humboldt Streets.
These are just notes you can have. Stand on this side. There you go. Stand with me.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, City Council. Thank you. I'm speaking on behalf of the Humboldt Street residents here. I have in my hand a hot potato. Represents the bike lanes. Some of the folks who received surveys about bike lanes and what to do next, this hot potato represents that. Some of the folks on Fremont Street were asked, gee, between the choice of you having the hot potato of the bike lanes or leaving it on Humboldt Street, what would you want to do?
I don't want it on Fremont, leave it on Humboldt.
Meaning you only had 2 choices, either your street or back on Humboldt. Thank you. And if we ask the folks on Idaho, do you want to have the bike lanes or do you want to leave them on Humboldt Street? Neither does Idaho want the bike lanes. So now we have 2 streets, 2 representative streets who both say they don't want it. Leave it on Humboldt then. And some of that survey data might have been skewed according to their representation of what they felt. Thank you. You guys can sit down. Thank you very much. Before you, I want to talk about the in-person survey results that were part of the memo from Public Works, issued to the Sustainability Committee and Infrastructure Committee. In the in-person survey results, I want to highlight a statement they make, which is 0% of those living on Humboldt Street oppose keeping the oppose keeping the existing bike lanes. 0% oppose keeping them, meaning 100% were supportive on Humboldt Street, which we don't think that to be true. On the next page, you'll see I'm speaking on the online survey results. Mind you, of all the online survey results, 20-something% were deemed as being replicate IP addresses, which need to be thrown out, which means people were trying to skew and bias that data. And I want to note that even though some of those were replicate IP addresses, some of the folks probably enticed others not to use replicate IP addresses. But even then, the results say that only 10 residents on Humboldt Street oppose the bike lanes, which I find unbelievable. And the last comment I want to make is about the mailed surveys. You mailed out 4,586 surveys, and you got 150 responses. That's 3.27% response. For any community or city public policy survey, below 10% is considered widely weak, generally unreliable below 5%, and at 3.2 is high risk of distortion, high risk. And they note on the results of that, for those in all of North Central, Humboldt, Idaho, and Fremont, a majority of folks don't want the bike lanes on Humboldt Street. I'm just highlighting this data for you to know so that you have it in advance and you can consider it before the meeting in February. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will now move to our next individual speaker, which will be May Lee. May please approach the podium.
Hi, everyone. My name is May. Thank you. I live in San Mateo for almost 30 years with my husband. This is my first time attend this meeting. After 3 years of my research, Uh, It's a little bit abnormal. I mean, actually, extremely abnormal situation. So anyone has more questions afterwards, you can call me or ask me. So basically, I live in Lauderdale, in San Mateo. I believe I just looked for the map, as it belongs to District 3. Yeah. I detected a very high radio frequency in 2022, after my longtime neighbor shared her symptoms with me. And that's drawn my attention. Me and my husband live in the same place for over 25 years.
Sorry, May, would you mind just speaking a little closer to the microphone so our virtual attendees can hear you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And my husband works for the state, by the way, so he's a state employee. So her symptoms draw my attention, and then, because I've been having recurring symptoms over all these years, I review 5, 6 years. But I managed to work and then to go, went to school, finish CSM and transfer UC Santa Cruz, and then finish my job. And then the radio frequency, which I was suggested by someone, because I asked a random, after I detected a wireless signal all over the place after midnight, and even I lock every devices. So I didn't know what's going on. So I started asking around, and I was recommended to use something called a device that detect the electronic magnetic field. And that's what I purchased, the device called the TriField. And the number I detected, it was at the end of 2022 and 2023, it was about the level 11. The safety level should be below 0.2. So to make it short, because this is a limited time, I believe what we've been attacked by something called a directive energy weapon. And something going on with also, this is for.
Thank you, May.
To all of us.
Thank you, May. Your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, but if anyone want to follow up with me, and you have my number and my address.
Perfect.
And
Yes.
I can show you the
Thank you.
pictures, because we have a street
Thank you, May.
light deflector covered. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, May.
Thank you, May.
We will now move on to our virtual environment, where our first speaker will be the user with the screen name iPad. Please unmute your mic.
Hi, Claire Stevens, calling in about the Humboldt Street bike lane. When the city eliminated all those parking spaces, over 200 for a bike lane, from the most crowded neighborhood in all of San Mateo, the residents who park on the streets, we didn't just lose parking. We lost freedom to come and go at will. Imagine not leaving your home because you don't know if you'll be able to find parking when you return and how far away it will be. Imagine if your friends and family kept stopping by so often because they didn't know where they would park. This leads to isolation. It's a real issue. COVID taught us that. Imagine carrying groceries for blocks. Imagine walking for blocks if you have medical issues. At a recent Sustainability and Infrastructure Commission meeting, one of the commissioners stated, hey, with my bad knees, I wouldn't want to walk 2 to 3 blocks to my car every day. A former mayor stated before he voted in favor of the bike lane that he wouldn't want to walk to and from his car every day. Imagine if you had to. North Central is also losing green space as many residents have converted their front yards into parking. It's not a nice look. All for a bike lane. that is rarely used. Imagine if this was happening in your neighborhood. And remember, the bikers who pass through our neighborhood only use that bike lane for a few short minutes in good weather and daylight. Us residents deal with the loss of parking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, rain or shine. I'd love it if you would restore our parking. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. We'll now move on to our final speaker in chambers, Mike Swire. Our final speaker in our virtual environment, Mike Swire. Mike, please go ahead and begin your remarks. Mike, we're not able to hear you in the room. You may be having some technical issues. We'll give you just a few moments to work through those. Still unable to hear you, Mike, unfortunately. Yeah, we're not able to receive that public comment. So with that, Mayor Lorraine, that concludes public comment.
Well, I'm sorry to learn that. But Mike, you can email us. We know you know our emails, so we apologize for that. And we will be back in City Hall soon with a new AV setup, and everything will be better from there. We'll close general public comment and move on to our next item, which is a public hearing. It's item number 13, 2033 LaSalle Drive, zoning reclassification, zoning code amendment, and planning application for an early childhood education center ordinance introduction. We have Seaman Zakavand, our associate planner, to give a presentation. We also have an applicant who will give a presentation. Then we will allow for public comment, and also we'll ask questions and deliberate. So with that, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Lorraine and council members. My name is Simin Zakovan, Associate Planner and Staff Planner for item number 13 before you tonight. This is a public hearing for 2033 LaSalle zoning reclassification for the Cary School Early Childhood Education Center, planning application 2025-012. Before starting with the presentation, I would like to introduce our staff that are joining us virtually tonight for this item. On Zoom, we have John Thompson, Assistant Engineer with Public Works, and Kenny Jung, the city's traffic consultant with W-Trans. Next slide, please. First, I'll begin with the site location and some project background. The applicant, the Cary School, is seeking approval to construct an early childhood education center at 2033 LaSalle Drive, which is outlined here in red. Surrounding uses include single-family residential to the north, Sarah High School to the east, the existing Cary School site to the south, and multifamily condominium apartments to the west across LaSalle Drive. The Cary School is a private educational institution that has served the students from pre-kindergarten through 5th grade since 1955. Its main campus is located at 1 Cary Lane, which is outlined here in yellow, and currently they're operating preschool program off-site at 3900 Alameda de las Pueblas. The proposed early childhood education center would relocate the preschool program to the project site to be located next to their main campus. Next slide, please. Thanks. The project land use designation is residential very low, and the site is zoned R1B for one family dwelling. The project site is 26,380 square feet, and the existing uses on site include a single-family residence and an accessory dwelling unit or an ADU. Next slide, please. The proposed Early Childhood Education Center is a one-story building which accommodate up to 75 students, ages 2 to 5 years old, and a maximum of 16 staff members. The proposed hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 7:45 a.m. to 6 p.m. In order to accommodate development of the project, the applicant is proposing to rezone the site from R1B to R1B with Q overlay or Qualified Overlay District 8. In San Mateo, educational facilities are permitted within R1 zoning district with the approval of special use permit. However, the applicant is requesting the Q8 overlay for alternative development standards that are typically applied for, for alternative development standards from those typically applied to single-family residential development. The city has previously applied Q overlay designations to other private educational facilities within R1 zoning district, including St. Mateo's School, Sarah High School, and the existing Cary School campus. Additional amendments to the Q8 overlay are requested to allow alternative development standards. These amendments include allowing uncovered parking within the front and side setback, and also allowing awning up to 9 feet in height to project within the rear yard setback. There are 3 other entitlements and requests associated with the project. Sorry, can you go to the next slide? First, special use permit for the use, which is a private educational facility, and for removing the single-family residence, as well as for off-site parking facility. Next is site plan and architectural review for the development of the site. And lastly, site development planning application for removal of heritage trees. The proposed development consists of a one-story building with 6 classroom and outdoor features, including a play area and a teaching garden. The play area outlined in yellow, if you can go to, no, sorry. The play area outline here in yellow is located on the south side of the building, which will minimize the noise impact to the single-family residences to the north. The project provides 11 parking spaces and a loading zone along the street frontage, which is marked here with the red arrow. If you can, yes. It's marked here with the red arrow, and installation of 29 new trees. Additionally, a private creek runs along the southern edge of the site, and the proposed project maintains appropriate setback to avoid any significant impact. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yes, thank you. Here are the renderings for the proposed building. The architectural style is best categorized as contemporary and would match the design of the existing Cary School campus adjacent to the site. Exterior materials include cement plaster, standing seam metal roofing, and a wood fencing. A traffic and parking evaluation memorandum for the project was prepared by the applicant's consultant, Kimley Horn, and it was peer-reviewed by the city's traffic consultant, W Trans. A 50% carpool reduction was applied to the analysis because of the overlapping trips between the existing Cary School campus and the proposed Early Childhood Education Center. With that, the project is expected to generate a net increase of 133 daily trips, and the project is screened out of vehicle miles traveled under local serving retail and public service uses criteria. Also, a level of service analysis was conducted for the nearest intersection to the project site, which is West 20th Ave and LaSalle Drive. And the analysis concluded that this intersection would still operate at level of service of C or better, which is an acceptable level of service for this intersection. And the queuing analysis for this project shows that the project would not increase the queuing by more than one vehicle. Based on these findings, it is concluded that the project would not have an adverse impact on local street system. Lastly, as part of the traffic analysis, a parking and traffic operation plan was prepared for the project. The plan includes 3 designated drop-off and pickup locations, which are shown here with the stars. And the operation plan also incorporates staggered start and end times for drop-off and pickup and other safety measures. The Carey School has an existing parking agreement with the nearby office park at 1900 2000 Alameda de los Pueblos to provide an additional 15 parking spaces for the use of faculty only. With the use of off-site parking facility, the total parking provided for the project is 26 spaces, exceeding the required parking by 3 spaces. The project has been determined to be exempt from further environmental review pursuant to CEQA Guidelines Section 15061, subsection B3, Common Sense Exemption, and Section 15303, Class 3, Small Structure. The proposed zoning code amendment and zoning overlay do not authorize any physical development or ground disturbance on the site, and therefore they are exempt from CEQA under common sense exemption. The development of the site involves the construction of a single-story, approximately 5,900 square foot building within an urbanized area on a site that allows for educational facility, and therefore it is exempt from CEQA under a small structure exemption. Next, please. The project held a neighborhood meeting on January 9, 2025. Prior to submitting the planning application. The Planning Commission heard the project at the December 9, 2025 meeting. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended the project to the City Council for approval with a vote of 4-0, with 1 commissioner absent. They also added a recommendation that the city investigate establishing a no parking zone on LaSalle cul-de-sac. Public Works has evaluated this area and concluded that the parking can be restricted during the pick-up and drop-off peak hour, and therefore condition number 31 has been updated and revised per this recommendation. Other modifications proposed to the conditions of approval are related to safety cameras and lighting plan. At the time of the project review, these conditions were added because San Mateo Municipal Code 235460 establishes exterior security lighting requirements for commercial and multifamily residential building. However, after further review, staff has determined that the proposed early childhood education center does not fall within the land use categories regulated on under this specific code section, and therefore it is recommended that these conditions to be removed. For tonight's presentation and meeting, staff has completed all standard noticing procedures listed on this slide. Next, please. With that, staff recommends that the City Council introduce an ordinance for zoning reclassification from R1B to R1B with Qualified Overlay District 8 or Q8 overlay, and a zoning code amendment to provide development standards for an early educational facility and find it exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15061B3 Common Sense Exemption, and adopt a resolution to approve the planning application, SPAR, SUP, and SDPE for the establishment and construction of an early childhood education center, subject to the findings for approval and conditions of approval with the recommended modifications, and find it exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15303 small structure exemption. Thank you. This concludes the staff presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions. The applicant, Neely Norris, the head of the Carey School, is also here and will be providing a presentation.
Thank you, and I think it would be best if we just continue at this time with the applicant's presentation, and then if we have questions later, we will bring them up. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Neely Norris. I'm the head of school at the Carey School. I want to thank you for hearing from us tonight. Mayor Lorraine, council members, thank you so much for hearing about our very exciting early childhood center project. With me tonight is a whole group of Carey community members, San Mateo community members, and supporters of our project. If you wouldn't mind standing if you're here in support of the project tonight. Very, very excited to have gotten to this point. We've been talking about this idea for over a year and been talking to the city about it for about a year as well. And so very excited to share. You can go to the next slide. The Carey School has been a member of the San Mateo community actually since 1928. The Carey family founded the Carey School originally in their home, and we moved to this site that we now hold on the Alameda. Thank you. We moved to this site that we're now on the Alameda in the 50s. And this picture is just an interesting image where you see Carey, you see the Alameda, and you see Sarah High School. And what I'm told, was told recently actually by one of the Planning Commission members was a polo field that Carey was on what was formerly a polo field. We currently have many students between our two campuses at the main campus at 1 Carey School Lane and on the Alameda, as well as our preschool campus that Simon mentioned. One of the main pieces of our community is that many of our families benefit from financial aid, and I'll talk about that sort of as a through line through the presentation. Go to the next slide. This is our mission. I will not read it to you, but please know that we are a mission-driven school. We're a school that really sees ourselves as being part of a community, of the community in San Mateo, and that we are really here to serve the community. And that has really led us to where we are today in thinking about an early childhood center. Part of our mission is connecting to our community. We are always looking to build community, both within our Carey community as well as in the larger San Mateo community. We do that through lots of community events and communication with our neighbors. We also have a commitment to really working with the community and providing community service as well. We've worked really closely with the Empowerment Through Action services, which actually are run out of Hillsdale High School. This image here is actually some of our pre-K students visiting the Peace Pantry that is run by Empowerment Through Action at Hillsdale High School. They're sorting produce that was then given out a little bit later that day. And that is a partnership that we have all the way from our preschool through our 5th grade that our environmental education teacher really spearheads. And we also have remained over the years, especially since becoming a nonprofit in the 80s, committed to focus on socioeconomic diversity through our community outreach and financial aid programs. And that community focus is actually what helped us identify this project in many ways. If you'll go to our next slide. So a little over a year ago, we were working through the challenges of having 2 campuses. And as you can imagine, our families having to drop off at the main campus and a mile and a half away at our other campus, encountering the traffic along the way along Alameda. We had a lot of conversation about how we could support those families by potentially bringing our preschool closer to the campus. But it wasn't until we started that conversation and looking into early childhood in San Mateo that I learned that the issue of childcare is actually one that as a council you've taken on, as well as many organizations that we've now started to partner with have been working on. We've seen a shift at Cary, and I think it's true along the peninsula, that more and more families have two-parent working households, and the families are actively seeking childcare that has robust hours, but not wanting to compromise on program. And that's what we realized that we actually provide, but in a relatively small scale. So our program runs from 7:45 in the morning until 6 p.m. in the evening and is a really high quality preschool program. And the more that we looked into our neighbors and the people around us and looked at our growing admission interest, we realized that this was a service that we actually could partner with San Mateo to offer more preschool spots to families in our city. So we've identified this need for high quality preschool. And we are really excited about the idea of hopefully completing this project in the fall and opening our doors in fall of 2027 to a group of 75 preschool students ages 2 to 5. This project is also really exciting because it is fully donor funded, which will allow some of the really amazing programs at the city and county level to increase childcare to remain intact so that there can be increased childcare through other means and other organizations that'll bring childcare to our area, because we know that we will make a small dent in the greater need for childcare in our city. We know that this project comes with neighbors that have long been good partners and friends of the Cary School, and we want to keep those friends in our neighborhood. And so we started this project very early on last year by walking the neighborhood, talking to our neighbors. Simon mentioned we had a neighborhood meeting in February, but we've since had a follow-up neighborhood meeting. We've had email conversations, lots of in-person conversations. I do duty almost every day on 20th and LaSalle in the afternoon, and have made good friends with many of our neighbors. And overall, we've had about 50 touch points with neighbors along the way. We've obviously heard some concerns around parking, around traffic, and we've done a really thorough job, I believe, in working to mitigate those concerns. As Simon mentioned, we maintain an off-site parking agreement, and we are in constant communication with our families to monitor that our parking is kept off of 20th and LaSalle. We also have a really robust staggered drop-off and pickup program excuse me, that is currently in place and will be in place when we open our preschool, and will then fold the preschool into that plan so that we continue that staggered drop-off and pickup, which allowed us to get that great feedback from our traffic consultant. These are just the images of the 3 locations that we will do drop-off and pickup. So we currently do drop-off and pickup on both LaSalle Circle as well as on the Alameda. And then the image on the far right is the drawing of our preschool drop-off and pickup that will take place in the preschool parking lot. And with that, I am going to introduce our amazing architect, Michelle Huber, who's going to tell you a little bit more about the site. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thank you for having us here tonight and allowing us to present our project. As Neely said, my name is Michelle Huber. I'm a principal at Studio Bondi Architecture, and the focus of our work and our practice is designing for schools. And the majority of those school clients are independent schools who are located in residential neighborhoods, very much like our project here for the Cary School. And so our design approach in general is to understand that we have 2 tasks when we're designing, that we need to design a project that will support our school client and support their program. But we also have to be mindful of designing so that we are compatible with the neighborhood and that we respect our neighbors' privacy. Go to the next slide. So tonight I'd like to describe our design intent for the Cary School Early Childhood Program or project, specifically how our design managed to balance these 2 needs. As a starting point, we developed a landscape design that created a row of trees along the north property line to provide a green buffer so that the view from our neighbor's property is one that is filtered through a green canopy of trees. Of the number of new trees that we are proposing for the project, nearly half of them are located along this north property line. We're also preserving a number of existing trees, including 4 very large mature redwood trees along the eastern side of the property, the northeastern side. And also along LaSalle itself, we planted a number of trees to again provide that green buffer from the views of the community. In developing the location, the siting of our building on the property, we've also attempted to provide a spatial buffer by placing the building as far back as we can, having as deep of a side yard and rear yard setback as is possible, while still maintaining our south setbacks, so that we are creating as much space as possible between our building and our neighbors to the north. As Simon has described, our building design is a U-shaped building with the play yard located, sort of protected within that U shape and located as far away as possible from our neighbors to the north. And this allows the building itself to be a buffer, both visual and acoustic. And again, trying to be mindful of the activity outdoors being located, protected from the neighbors with this building. Next slide, please. Not only were we thinking of our design as a site plan exercise, but also designing of the building itself. Again, I'm going to repeat some of the elements that Simon described for our building. But our intent here, again, was to design a building that would be compatible with the neighbors. And given that the neighbors, for the most part, are 1- and 2-story single-family homes that are stucco buildings, that was the starting point for this design. So we have a stucco building with a red tile accent wall that connects it to the Big Cary campus. But our overall goal was to design a modest building that was minimal in scale so that it didn't overpower the neighborhood, that it was compatible. We have a very low sloping roof, again, to minimize the scale of the building. And we think we've done a good job in designing a building that will fit the context of the neighborhood. In designing our fences along this main facade and the fence along the property line with our neighbors, we were mindful of the residential context, and we designed a fence that has wood infill to be a more residential material, where along our south and east property lines, we have a more traditional chain link fence that you would see for schools. But the areas that are being visible for the neighbors and the community are intended to be softer and warmer wood fencing. We have one more slide to share with you, which is the view of our building from our neighbors to the north, if you were standing in their parking lot or at one of their first floor windows. And you can see that the fence, which we are designing to be a 7-foot high fence with 6 feet more solid, and the final 7th foot being 50% open to meet Unicode requirements. The majority of our building is concealed with the fence, and the part of our building that you can see above the fence line will be mitigated through that canopy of new trees. We will continue to have conversations with this neighbor in particular, and as Neely said, we've had a chance to meet with them and chat several times over the course of this project. And our goal is to make sure that we're designing a fence that is aesthetically pleasing and provides them privacy that they deserve, and that at the end of the day, it's a design that they will be happy with. So we're going to continue these conversations. And with that, I'd like to thank you and say that my work is very rewarding because I get to do projects with clients like the Cary School and support the work that they're doing. And it's really admirable. And I'm grateful for the ability and the opportunity to do so. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your presentation. At this time, I would like to open public comment. So for those who are in the room, if you'd like to give a comment on this item, if you haven't yet, please bring a speaker slip or get one from the clerk and fill it out, and you can participate. If you're on Zoom, you can raise your hand at this time. City Clerk, can you please tally how many public commenters we have?
Certainly, Mayor Lorraine, and just a few housekeeping items. I see some newer faces in the room. You're very welcome. Just to go through a couple of quick housekeeping items. As Mayor Lorraine mentioned, we will be announcing the names of the last speaker. So if you do wish to speak on this item, please provide me with a request to speak slip. If you're participating in our virtual environment, please raise your hand now. We will be calling the final name. And just some logistics as far as providing your request to speak. We're going to call the names of the next 3 speakers. If you hear your name called, if you could please line up against the wall over here, right next to our city manager and the double doors leading back into the library. We will be calling the next 3 names. I know it's kind of tight quarters here, but if you can, as best as you can, navigate your way over to the far wall. And Mayor Newsom, we have not received any additional requests to speak. We have a total of 8 requests to speak on this item. And we have no request to speak in our virtual environment. So that will set the time at 3 minutes per speaker. So we will begin with our first 3 speakers. We'll start with Tim Wang, followed by Mark Acton and Sophia Sang. Tim, if you'd like to join us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Lorraine and council members. My name is Timothy Wong, and I'm a resident of San Mateo and parent of 2 young children, one of whom just started at Cary a few months back, so he's 4 and our daughter's 1.5. I'm here tonight to voice my strong support for Cary's proposed early childhood center. My wife and I moved from San Francisco to San Mateo back in 2018, and we used to live right by Abbott Middle School, and currently we live right next to Beresford Park. As a full-time, 2 working parents who have gone through the process of trying to find reliable, high-quality childcare in San Mateo, I can personally tell you it's incredibly challenging. Nearly every family I know has faced some hurdles, long wait lists, limited availability, and a shortage of programs that offer true full-day coverage for working families. This project is a rare and much-needed solution. Cary's Early Childhood Center would add about 75 childcare spaces, as you know, for children 2 to 5 years of age, with full-day programming from 7:45 to 6 p.m. This is something that we actually utilize at our home because we're both working full-time. That schedule alone makes an enormous difference for parents who are balancing careers and young kids. What's more, Cary has thoughtfully included fully subsidized spots so that families of all backgrounds can access high-quality early education. That's a meaningful commitment to equity and community, and it reflects Cary's long-standing role here in San Mateo as a school that is of the community and for the community. I believe this project is a concrete way to make our city more family-friendly, to support early learning, and to help young families stay here and thrive here. As a parent, I see this not only as an investment in education, but as an investment in the future of our community. So thank you for your time and your service and for considering this project.
Thank you. Our next 3 speakers will be Mark Acton, followed by Sophia Sang and Edgar Ryan Silva.
Hello, Council. I'm Mark Acton. I live at 492 West 20th Avenue, so not only am I a neighbor to the Cary School, I also have 2 children, one of whom is a Cary School graduate. He's a 6th grader at Episcopal Day now, and my daughter is a current 4th grader at the Cary School. So I've seen firsthand the kind of care and integrity and compassion the school brings in everything that it does. I'm here because this proposed preschool at LaSalle Drive isn't just a construction project. It's something that families in San Mateo desperately need. When our kids were younger, we struggled like so many parents to do. We were like 23rd on a wait list at one of the elementary schools before we applied to Cary to get after school care. And we struggled to find early quality child education close to our home. And the shortage is real, and it puts families in impossible situations. A preschool like this would have made a world of difference for us, and it will absolutely make a difference for San Mateo families today and in the future. What gives me confidence in this project is not just the need, but the way Carrie is approaching it with humility, transparency, and respect for neighbors who are also my neighbors. They're voluntarily doing traffic and noise studies, committing to staggered drop-off times, staff monitoring, and sound mitigation design. They've opened direct lines of communication and are inviting neighbors to campus to talk, listen, and collaborate, and that's who the Carrie community is. This preschool aligns with San Mateo's own goals around expanding childcare, but more importantly, it strengthens the fabric of our community. It gives working families stability, it gives kids a strong start, and it gives our city something to be proud of. I respectfully ask for your support, and thank you for your time and caring about the future of families here in San Mateo.
Thank you. Our next three speakers will be Sophia Sang, followed by Edgar Ryan Silva and Sarah Meyer Heredia.
Good evening, council members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Sophia Zhang, and I have been a San Mateo resident for almost 20 years. I'm also here to voice my strong support for the Carrie School Early Education Center. As members of the council, you know the importance of early education and the difference it can make in educational outcomes. San Mateo has made tremendous strides in the availability of preschool and TK programs during your tenure as city council members. And this project at Carrie would be another high-quality source of much-needed educational access. Carrie made an amazing difference in my younger son's personal development and growth. I am constantly grateful for the thoughtful way in which the administration, teachers, and community work together to show children what is possible when they lead and learn with kindness, curiosity, and joy, seeding the intention to improve the world around them, either personally or collectively. Expanding Carrie will allow more children to be educated by this fine institution, which is truly a positive thing for the world. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Edgar Ryan Silva, followed by Sarah Meyer Heredia and Aaron Juan.
I'm actually speaking on item 14, so did you want the rest of them to go first?
Item number 14. So yeah, we'll come to you at the previous item, or the next item. Thank you. Apologies for the confusion there. Our next speaker will be Sarah Meyer Heredia, followed by Aaron Juan and Jason Cruz.
Good evening, Mayor Lorraine, Deputy Mayor Fernandez, council members Diaz-Nash, Sreko-Ditsky, and new City Manager Kachikian and Assistant City Manager Horaceberger. My name is Sarah Meyer Heredia. My experience in supporting spaces that support families and children in this community leads me to make a statement here in approval of Carrie's desire to have the Early Learning Education Center next to the main campus. Putting the Early Learning Center adjacent to the current K-5 campus does many things. I have seen that things like proximity, continuity, and shared infrastructure significantly improve things like safety, oversight, and ultimately the confidence in our youngest learners. I also believe that putting the schools next to each other will support mentorship, also mixed age learning and community cohesion. These are values that are instrumental to the Carrie educational model. And I believe values that will only benefit future San Mateo residents and the generations. I am mother to a first grader and now a 1-year-old, and I'm hoping that this continues to be the norm for our family so I can continue doing the work that I do up until 6 p.m. To serve this great city. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Aaron, followed by Jason Cruz, and our final speaker on this item will be David Sigmund.
Good evening, Mayor Lorraine and members of the City Council, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Erin Haugen, and I've lived in San Mateo for over 10 years with my husband and 3 young children who all attend the Carrie School. I work as an ICU nurse at San Mateo Medical Center and occasionally teach in the nursing school at College of San Mateo, so my hours are unique and unpredictable at times. I see firsthand how critical, reliable, full-day early childhood care is for working families in our city. During the pandemic, when our oldest child's preschool closed permanently, we urgently searched for an in-person pre-K program. And like so many families, we encountered long wait lists. I think I was probably number 24 behind you, Mark, on that wait list. Limited options and schedules that weren't realistic for 2 working parents. It was incredibly stressful, and it was an experience we've heard echoed by so many families in this community, pandemic or not. We were fortunate when Carrie had a spot available. To keep students safely in person, the school creatively moved its pre-K program off campus at that time, rented space at Peninsula Temple Bethel, and split the classes into smaller groups. That created just enough capacity, and in a year filled with uncertainty, the bright spot for our family was how much our son loved what became affectionately known as Little Carrie. So later, when our younger two children attended Little Carrie, we were once again reminded of what early childhood educational excellence looks like. Our family deeply believes that where you are educated first matters most, and Carrie has upheld that philosophy while serving San Mateo children for nearly 100 years. Our children's experience at Little Carrie over the past 6 years is one of the main reasons we so strongly support the school's vision for its own early child care center. Little Carrie deserves a permanent home. The proposed center would expand much-needed childcare capacity, add a dedicated 2-year-old class, and preserve Carrie's full-day hours. For families like mine, these hours are not a luxury. They are what allow us to work, allow me to care for my fellow San Mateo neighbors, and while knowing my children are safe, supported, and thriving. More young families in San Mateo deserve that same stability and joy. On behalf of my family and as a longtime San Mateo resident, I urge you to support this project and help address one of the most pressing needs facing young families in our city. Thank you so much for the time and for your service.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Jason Cruz, followed by our final speaker, David Sigmund.
Hello, the City Council and the Mayor. My name is Jason Cruz, and my wife and I, Rosie, we live at 2033 LaSalle Drive, and we are very excited for the school to be able to expand their program onto the property that we live. 3 of our children have all gone through Carey School and are all alumni. My son went to Sarah High School, so we all had a horrible commute. The school was really caring with us as a neighbor. We didn't have a list, sorry. We didn't have to go on the list. We were right next door. The school supported us. They provided us with financial support also so that we could afford to have all of our children go to Carey School. When we thought about selling the property, we wanted it to go to a really good program, and we felt that this would be the best for the community and for the neighborhood. And we fully support this, and we hope that the City Council and the Mayor will vote for this program to go through. We love Carey, and we feel like Carey's loved us for the entire 22 years that we've been their neighbor, and we've been San Mateo residents for 30 years. And we look forward to them hopefully getting this approved and being able to affect the lives of many families in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaker on this item will be David Sigmund.
Here's some consistent themes to speakers that came before me, but my name is David Sigmund, and my wife, Stasha Zlatar, and I are longtime residents of San Mateo and parents to 2 children at the Carey School, a kindergartner and a 2nd grader, both of whom attended the preschool at Carey. We are strongly in support of Carey building an early childhood learning center next to the current school campus on LaSalle, and we're asking City Council to approve this very important effort. San Mateo has a child care crisis, and I can remember vividly how panicked we were when our oldest was born, and we realized how limited the quality child care options in our area were. We were on wait lists for many months, at some centers, and others we never got off the wait list. The opportunity to add 35 preschool spots with daycare coverage hours, hugely valuable on its own merits to help address this child care crisis. The ability to do so at a school that provides the quality of teaching and care that the Carey School offers should be a no-brainer. Because of the pandemic and the child care issues we all faced during that time, our family experienced multiple daycare and preschool environments for our oldest before we finally landed at the Carey School for his pre-K year. Our experience at Carey was incomparable to our prior schools. The quality of the teachers, the thoughtfulness of the curriculum, and the engagement of the community all contribute to developing young learners who will be excellent citizens to the city. Carey teaches students to care about others, to understand that our choices and actions affect everyone. It's our responsibility as adults to model that same behavior as we shape our community. We understand that this project could be disruptive to the neighbors of the Carey School, and we acknowledge that concern. However, we maintain that the benefits of this project far outweigh the challenges, and we politely ask, if not here, then where? Additionally, the ability to bring the school together to one location reduces traffic congestion and emissions from parents who drive between the two locations multiple times a day, as we did last year for sure. Finally, as involved parents in this community, we have seen firsthand how conscientious the school is about maintaining orderly driving and parking logistics on Salle and Alameda. We regularly receive reminders from the school administration, as we know other parents to be equally concerned with following the rules and respecting the local residents. We're confident that the school will do everything in its power to minimize disruption and maintain positive relations. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Mayor Lorraine, that concludes public comment.
Thank you for all who gave comments. I will now close public comment for this item and bring this to the council for questions and comments. Who would like to go first? Councilmember Diaz-Nash, thank you.
Thank you very much. First off, I'd like to really thank all the members of the Carey community who came here tonight. I heard current parents, parents who had kids who went to Carey, parents who or neighbors who probably don't have kids at Carey and just know the school. So thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you to the Sigmunds for your special contribution as well. And Neely, if I could ask a couple questions of you. Do you have a cough drop? You said? Okay, that's good, because I'm usually the one coughing, so I appreciate it. Could you tell us a little bit more? You said that financial aid was part of the program. Could you tell us a little bit more about how that will apply to the preschool?
Yes, thank you for coming back to that. It's on. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, so financial aid plays a big role in our budget each year. The amount of financial aid that the school provides is approved by our board each year. So it's something that our Board of Trustees takes very seriously as we're building our budget each year. We're committed to providing at least 10% of the spots in the preschool to be fully subsidized. That number will range between 10 and 15% based on the budget each year, but it'll be at a minimum of 10%, which will allow us to really continue our commitment to socioeconomic diversity in our preschool and across our school, and to serve the families of San Mateo across the socioeconomic spectrum.
Great, thank you. And given the fact that you are bringing the two schools together in your plan, can you talk specifically about the impact on traffic that will have?
Yes. So currently we have 40 students that are at our preschool at 3900 Alameda, which is about a mile and a half from our campus. Over 50% of those students have a sibling on our main campus. And as was noted by Simon, we have that 50% allowance for our traffic plan because we've seen at least 50%, but actually more like 60% year over year for the last 5 years of crossover between our two campuses, which requires those families to drop off at the main campus as well as the preschool campus and travel along that Alameda corridor, which we know in the morning is quite congested because there are a number of other schools. And so having one drop off at the main campus will bring all of those cars off of the travel south on Alameda each day. And as David Sigmund mentioned multiple times a day, because they're often doing morning drop-off and afternoon pickup at both locations.
Thank you very much. And then finally, I guess the question is, I remember when this first started way back, in the early days, there were a number of neighbors in particular who had very legitimate concerns about what the impact of a school like this would have on the neighborhood. And you talked at a high level, but I don't see a lot of them here tonight. And I'm hoping that that means that you've made some connections and assuaged some concerns. And I'm interested in you talking a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly can't speak for the neighbors, but I hope so. We've definitely made a concerted effort to connect with our neighbors, to talk about the process, both the outcome of the preschool as well as the construction process itself. We've been able to share lots of information about the length of the construction project. We're hoping for it to be rather short, only a 9-month construction project, which hopefully will alleviate that construction frustration that can happen during projects for neighbors. And as Michelle Huber mentioned, we've really been in close contact with our close neighbors to bring them in and show them the plans along the way as they've been developed. We had a neighborhood meeting that was optional in August, where we brought our families to campus, and not our family, sorry, our neighbors to campus, and we were able to walk them through the drop-off and pickup plans. We were able to show them the design elements, really show them in person all of the pieces of what we're doing. And there were people that evening that expressed frustrations, but what I think was really helpful was that we were able to build those personal connections. They now all have my phone number. They know how to contact me. They find me on the corner when I'm doing duty on 20th on LaSalle. And those relationships, I think, have really gone a long way in helping people feel more comfortable with the project, and to know that in an ongoing way, we'll also continue those relationships. And so if there are things we need to work out with our traffic and parking when the preschool does open, we'll be amenable to doing that. And of course, in concert with the city and the planning department, if we need to make any changes to our plans.
Great, and I would certainly encourage you to build that relationship ongoing, because if this is a successful partnership, it will spread elsewhere. So
certainly.
Thank you very much, and I am finished with my questions.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else have any questions? Councilmember Spirko-Kuditsky.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I just want to start by saying I'm very excited about the project. Perhaps San Mateans are unaware, but we actually did have to close one of our child care facilities earlier this year in my district, the Lakeshore facility, which had been there since the 1960s. And as many people mentioned here tonight, there is a child care need, and it's a real issue. So thank you for wanting to invest back into the city. With that, I do have a few questions. Just looking at page 200 of the council packet, I did notice that there is a creek or a tributary there. How much of a setback is there between?
Invite Michelle Huber up to.
Sure, thank you.
Specific.
There are two setbacks that the design had to comply with. One was the creek setback, which I think was the most restrictive one. And the actual number is on the drawings, and apologies if I get it wrong, but I think it's a 40-foot setback from the top of bank.
Okay.
And so we worked with H.T. Harvey, an environmental biologist consultant, to identify exactly where that top of creek was, or top of bank, so that we could provide the right setback.
And in terms of maintenance, is that something that's going to be shared with the city of San Mateo, or is that going to be responsibility of the school?
I can let Neely describe the school's role, but I can also tell you that we designed an area for Public Works easement so that they have access to the creek for their maintenance.
Great, thank you. Did you want to add to that?
I mean, I think we'll work with Public Works. Public Works currently maintains the creek, and in particular, a trash capture device. I was going to call it the wrong thing. That is maintained by Public Works and needs to be accessed. It's, I think, accessed just like once or twice a year, and that will continue. And our architects have designed so that the access is there, and we've worked closely with Public Works to make sure that it meets their needs.
Great.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that we're maintaining it too. And then I know the comment about trees came up. I love that we have a green canopy and that we're, securing the redwood trees. Are there any heritage trees on the property, and what's the plan to keep that or remove that?
There are heritage trees on the property. Do you want to answer that one, Simon?
Yeah, sure. Through the mayor, yeah, there are heritage trees on the property. They are being replaced, or the new trees will be planted, and also there will be a landscaping lieu fee that the project is subject to for the replacement of the heritage trees.
Okay. And then Councilmember Diaz-Nash mentioned it. I know the Cary School has been a very active partner on kind of managing traffic and after-school pickup and childcare drop-off, et cetera. But if we can just continue to have a dialogue about 20th and how to kind of keep that street open. I know that's also part of Sarah High School as well, because I think some of the concerns are actually the backup that happens on 20th. So that's all.
Yes, happy to. And we, as part of our duties each day, and one of the conditions of approval, actually from our last project, were to station someone on that corner at 20th and LaSalle. And so we've been really, this year, actively involved there. And it's been interesting to see. So I think continuing dialogue makes a ton of sense, and happy to engage in that.
Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Any questions from other council members? Okay. Very good. I just have one question. Seaman, you mentioned that some of the conditions of approval were being removed. And I wondered if you could, I apologize, but I don't think I quite captured everything you mentioned there. And so if you wouldn't mind maybe repeating a little and explaining what were those conditions and why are they being proposed to be removed?
Sure. So conditions number 69, 70, and 71 are, we are recommending to remove those conditions. These are related to lighting plan and security cameras that originally were placed by police department, but after closing look into the conditions, we determined that the code section that was used for this condition are not applicable. Actually, it's not applicable to this type of the project, so that's why we are recommending to remove them. But the conditions are more related to providing a lighting plan and security camera and annual review of these measures by the city.
Thank you. And I guess I lied because I have a small follow-up. If you wouldn't mind just confirming again, I think I heard you say that there was sort of an introduction of, or maybe an update of a condition since the Planning Commission meeting based on the comments, requests from from Planning Commission. Staff found, I believe, the request to look into having city signs installed for no parking during the periods of pickup and drop off. That's currently in what's before council tonight?
Correct, yes. That's already included in the in condition number 31, subsection 3. Also, subsection C, excuse me. Also, we have included a memo in the attachments. Sorry, I can pull up the attachment number. But there is also a memo attachment number 12 that was prepared by Public Works staff that basically explains they have reviewed the cul-de-sac and recommended that we can place no parking signage. This request came from Planning Commission.
Thank you. Okay. I believe because we have this being a public hearing, we will eventually have a roll call vote, a motion is required and so on. Okay. Just checking around to see if folks have any more comments they want to make before a motion.
Can I make a motion?
looking around for other comments. I would like to just quickly comment that I am in support of the project, and I appreciated the planning commission meeting that happened before council, because I think there were a number of questions that were asked there that got answered, and helped enrich my understanding of the project. And I do want to appreciate the suggestion to put in that, look into that parking situation, to put in city signs and have this updated condition. I think that's a good idea. And I, of course, just want to note that I also did want to acknowledge, as Councilmember Diaz-Nash mentioned a bit, that we also received a number of emails and comments from other neighbors who had concerns about the traffic impacts. And I did just want to acknowledge that indeed there is a cost to this proposal, and it will be experienced in I would say a different part of our city. So as has been noted by some others, at the moment we have a separate facility near the Transfig Church, and so to some extent I wanted to acknowledge that there will be a concentration of the impact in this location. But as others have mentioned, I would agree that to me the benefits outweigh the cost. And indeed, I think we're rather fortunate that this co-location provides, I think, some benefits and some overall alleviation of congestion due to the fact that many parents are using little carry and big carry together. I appreciate that the maintenance of that carpool discount is part of the conditions of approval tonight. I think that's important because when we look at the traffic analysis, it is taking that into account, and so without that discount, it would look different. And I do appreciate that discount came about through historical data from the current situation at Transfig Church. And so we feel, I feel confident that it can continue, and I appreciate that we're not just hoping that it will, but in fact, going to be maintaining that and looking into it. Okay, now I can entertain a motion. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept this, did you have, sorry.
Nope.
Councilmember Newsom? I move that we accept this plan. Is that the proper motion?
And I second it.
The
motion above.
Okay, hold on. Let me get my screen. Guys, sorry, I'm old.
Yeah, introduce the ordinance, so.
Okay, cool. Cool beans. Okay, let's do this. I would like to move that we introduce an ordinance for a zoning reclassification from 1RB to 1RBQ8 and a zoning code amendment to provide development standards for an educational facility and find it exempt from CEQA pursuant to section 15061B3, common sense exemption, and adopt a resolution to approve the planning application, SPAR, SUP, and SDPA for the establishment and construction of an early childhood education center, subject to the findings for approval and conditions of approval with the recommended modifications, and find it exempt from CEQA pursuant to section 15303, new small structures exemption.
And I second that, what she said.
Thank you very much. I have a motion and a second. City Clerk, can we please have a roll call vote?
Certainly. Deputy Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Diaz-Nash?
Yes.
Councilmember Svirko-Goditsky?
Yes.
Mayor Lorraine?
Yes.
And Councilmember Newsom?
Yes.
The motion carries 5-0.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And for the folks in the room, you're very welcome to stay for the remainder of the council meeting. But we do ask that if you could please, and because the library is closed, if you could please exit through the double doors directly behind you.
And we look
missing some
forward to
bangers,
many
though.
of the kids being on city council in future years, okay?
Then to
Excellent.
And then
Congratulations.
to access the vehicles, please use the elevator. Thank you.
And Mr. City Manager, Mr. City Clerk, I just heard a couple requests for a brief recess while others are filing out. So let's take a 5-minute recess, please.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for your presentation.
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
I can run my presentation off of that. And HFH will be doing
Fast exit.
No, it is. It's a little tight. You look like a mod, Lisa.
What's it like? What is it like?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I said, there's no way we get that changed. Too late, she'll call me. That was at 4 o'clock. What? Yeah. I'm going to have to read from one side. I'll read from right here, except for just have record of that. Yep, we're good.
If you remember, Mr. Ferretti was working at Sarah. Boy, he really kept traffic in check and the snows in check. That's where I still went there. Yes, sir. I was actually graduated from Sarah. And everybody was staring at Mr. Ferretti.
Yeah, I would have found it by now.
He had his own car.
No, I didn't know that it was
He was parked in the wrong spot.
And I didn't read it.
But I think he's retired now. And it kind of lost its
So we like on the agenda, like flies, bread, folded.
When I got a petition for Fiscal, I walked the entire block of the address.
We made a bread and we highlighted it yellow.
Once I said, it was easy to see.
They all said the same thing, they all had concerns with Sarah, and it's
Well, I would
just gotten a little bit bigger on their push to.
And I would have looked.
I think that was the only thing that would help alleviate some of the stress on things.
Sure. I think they're. Go celebrate. Seriously. Oh, you have to. You can have one too.
Yeah, I'm hanging around.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Right here.
I could be well read too.
Fancy brooch? Hey, that's awesome. A science shop. Yeah, on 20th. Look at
Oh, did you see my email about my
Okay, thank you everyone for your patience, and now we will move on to our next item of business. Item number 14, which is solid waste 2026 rate setting and Proposition 218 notification approval. We have a presentation from our Waste Management Supervisor, Jack Johnson. Take it away, sir. Thank you.
Thank you all. We are here to talk about 2026 solid waste rates increase. All right. The request of City Council is to provide direction on proposed rate increases, to authorize staff to mail a Proposition 218 notice to all property taxpayers proposing a not to exceed increase in solid waste recycling and compost collection rates for 2026, and provide direction on the remittance amount from reserves to Recology balancing account for 2026. The solid waste process and what rates cover. We need to remember what the services are that solid waste rates cover. It's the collection, transportation, disposal, and diversion of all the recycling, organics, and trash generated by residents and businesses in the city, and all the solid waste regulatory compliance, litter abatement, illegal dumping, and education and outreach programs and activities the Solid Waste Division does to promote recycling and waste diversion, such as construction waste management plans, e-waste, and shredding events. Most of the work of the solid waste team is managing waste diversion, keeping things out of the landfill, and recycling valuable resources. It also covers all the street sweeping activity in the city. So what is generally referred to as your garbage bill actually includes many more services. Next slide. The annual rate review process. Rates are reviewed by the council every year, and once are adopted, are effective for 1 year. The city is required to follow the California Constitution when setting rates, which means that all rates must be based on the actual cost of service. By that, what is meant is that in 2006, in order to promote recycling and reduce waste going to the landfill, San Mateo, like many progressive communities, adopted a pay-as-you-throw system. But in the intervening years, California didn't meet its landfill reduction targets established by law. So in 2016 and 2022, new regulations from the state came into effect mandating recycling and composting. Neither is voluntary for anyone in the state any longer. And because the citizen-led and voter-approved Prop 218 amendment to the California Constitution requires rates to be proportional to the cost of the service to the parcel, we can no longer use the pay-as-you-throw model and must transition to a true cost of service model, which we have been doing since 2022. I'm going to turn this over to Rick Simonson and Gabe Sasser from HF&H Consultants. They are consultants for solid waste rate setting, and they will walk us through the proposed 2026 rates.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you, Jack. First, I'll start with an overview of the 2025 rate setting process and the results. There were 4 items that came from that process last year. At Council's direction, the city deferred the portion of Recology increases that exceeded 5%, providing a 1-year deferral of $331,000. That, please may you back up. That, we will revisit as part of the 2026 revenue requirement. The city also used $400,000 from the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund to reduce the balancing account and to address the current deficit that it had with Recology. The city increased residential rates by a range of $7.50 to $9 per month. and this reflects the 4 service levels provided to residential customers. And the city also increased the 20-gallon and 32-gallon commercial solid waste and organics rates so that those rates would meet their cost of service. Next slide, please. The 2026 revenue requirement consists of 3 components. First, there are the recology collection costs, which are increasing 4.4% for 2026. So these costs represent the costs for the collection vehicles to make their weekly rounds to collect from residents and from commercial businesses to transport the material to the Shoreway Environmental Center and the Ox Mountain landfill. These collection costs are increasing due to inflation as allowed by the franchise agreement. Each spring, Recology, as part of its compensation application, submits its upcoming costs for the year, and those are reviewed by the member agencies of Rethink Waste, of which the city is a member, and those costs are approved in the fall as they were done in 2025. There are additional increases, as I previously touched upon, the $331,000 for this cost category based on the 1-year deferral of 2025 costs. The second category of cost, disposal and processing costs, are those costs that Rethink Waste incurs to oversee the collection, or I'm sorry, the disposal and processing and transfer of material. And so those costs are increasing 7.5%. The increase, 5% of which is due to increasing the tip fees to reflect increases to the operating costs to run the Shoreway facility. And 2.5% of that increase is due to increased disposal volumes. The third category of costs that are borne by ratepayers are the city fees, which consist of the solid waste program costs, street sweeping costs, as well as franchise fees for the city to enforce and maintain the franchise agreement with Recology. Those are increasing approximately $625,000 from the previous year, and these do not include previous year's practice of collecting for landfill closure fees or trash capture device funding. Next slide, please. So lines 6, 7, and 8 are the values that I touched upon on the previous slide. And so those equate to $35.6 million for the total revenue requirement to be made up through rates in 2026. With the projected revenue at current rates, this entails an operating shortfall of $1.17 million. And our proposal is to address that through increasing rates, which currently do not meet their cost of service. Next slide. First, I'll touch upon the table on the bottom of the slide. So residential rates are currently not meeting their cost of service. In this table, which shows the 4 different cart sizes, 20-gallon through 96-gallon, reflects the current rates charged on a monthly basis, as well as the 2026 calculated costs of providing that service for each of the subscription levels, as well as the difference, both nominal and percentage basis. And although there's differences, those differences have been narrowed over time, and that's exemplified by the progress chart at the top of this slide. And the declining slope shows that the variance between the rates charged and the cost of providing the service, that variance has narrowed over time as residential rates have gone up. And so this is part of the city's long-term plan to realign rates to the cost of service in compliance with Proposition 218. And our proposed plan for 2026 is to continue this progress. Next slide, please. So these are the recommended monthly rates for the bundled residential solid waste subscription services. The 20-gallon carts would increase to $42.09 per month. The 32-gallon cart rates would increase to $52.18 per month. The 64-gallon to $78.93 per month. The 96-gallon subscription level would increase to $107.24 per month. The change to the monthly rates is shown in the column to the right of those in bold. The $4.16 is specifically to ensure that the 96-gallon rate aligns with the cost of service such that those customers would then be paying their proportionate share, closing the difference that previously existed. Our proposal does not include any increases for commercial customers, as commercial customers collectively meet their cost of service at this time. Let's move to the next slide, please. So the next 4 slides, this one includes a residential rate comparison for the 4 service offerings, 20-gallon, 32-gallon, 64, and 96. The current rates for San Mateo are shown in a light green and the proposed rates in a darker green, contrasted with neighboring San Mateo County agencies, all of which are Rethink Waste members. And what you'll see across all 4 slides is that the proposed rates fall within the median range of all of these comparisons for the city. Next slide, please. So just showing you the trend. Next slide. And the final slide. And so I want to point out again on this slide that the proposed rate of $107.24 for 96-gallon subscribers would match the cost of service in this year, achieving the city's overall objective. Next slide, please. In summary, rates must cover the cost of solid waste services provided. It may not be based on a progressive pay-as-you-throw or a diversion incentivized practice, as was done previously. The proposed 2026 rates move the city closer to compliance with Proposition 218. We know that additional increases will be needed in future years. These are reviewed annually, but we are aware of Rethink Waste, or formerly SBWMA, their desire to conduct capital improvements on the shoreway facilities to improve the operations and the infrastructure. And so we know that those will impact the disposal and processing costs in future years, and those costs are currently being analyzed. And the second unknown are the zero emission vehicles infrastructure, which right now is on pause at the legislative level for the state, but this could result in increases to Recology's collection costs in the event that they need to upgrade their collection vehicle fleet to comply with state mandates. And with that, I will return the presentation to, one other. And then, so this summarizes the 2026 rate recommendations for increasing the residential solid waste subscription monthly rates, again, shown in bold in this table. And now I will return it to Mr. Jack Johnson.
Thank you, Gabe. The rate adoption timeline is we are requesting that the council authorize me to mail the public notice. That would, if you approve it, be mailed by Saturday to meet the 45-day notice deadline. And the city council public hearing to hear potential protests would occur on March the 2nd. And if rates were approved, they would become effective on April 1st. Next slide. So the request of council is to ask clarifying questions and to authorize staff to mail a Proposition 218 notice to all property taxpayers proposing a not to exceed increase in solid waste recycling and compost collection rates for 2026. That slide is wrong. And before you do that, I would like your indulgence to talk briefly about a project that we are involved with. It's a public-private, it's a public-private partnership between the state of California through CalRecycle, the city of San Mateo, Half Moon Bay, Daly City, and the county of San Mateo. J&D Recycling is a local business located on Amphlett Avenue. It is a recycling facility. They have a new program where you can join, sign up for an app, and get bags to collect your CRV recyclables. CRV is California Redemption Value, basically the deposit you pay when you buy a CRV container, and drop it off rather than wait, and you can get the money back through the app. It is a way to encourage more recycling and make it easier for people to recycle, and it would also help support a small local business with a very small margin. If you have any questions about that, I can talk more about it and bore you to tears. The other thing to know is that we put this flyer in the December bill insert for recycling, for Recology bills. If you're interested in it, you could find that. Alternatively, you can go online or call me, and I'll be happy to fill you in. Thank you for that indulgence.
Well, thank you for sharing it and for your presentation. And at this point, I'd like to open it up to public comment. And if you're in the room and have not already gotten and distributed a speaker slip, you can give it to the city clerk, this yellow slip. On Zoom, you can raise your hand. City clerk, can you please tally how many public commenters we have?
Thank you, Mayor Lorraine. Currently, we just have the one request to speak. Not seeing any additional requests in our in-person environment, and no additional requests to speak in our virtual environment. So we will open up with 3 minutes per speaker with our speaker, Edgar Ryan Silva.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and congratulations, Mayor Lorraine, on your first regular meeting. My name is Edgar Ryan Silva, and I'm a resident of North Central San Mateo. I will be speaking on item 14 in new business. I'm aware that the city has to follow Proposition 218 and make sure rates reflect the true cost of providing solid waste, recycling, and compost services. And I agree that we can't underfund essential infrastructure. However, these increases land on households as another fixed monthly bill, especially for renters and working families who don't have flexibility to absorb higher utility costs. Before moving forward, I'd ask Council to clearly show residents what portion of these increases is driven by real service costs versus administrative or corporate margins, and whether any low-income protections or rate relief options are being considered. If people are paying more, they should know it's buying cleaner streets, better recycling, and producing real environmental outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Lorraine. That concludes public comment.
Thank you for that public comment. At this time, I'd like to ask my colleagues if they have any questions on this item. Yes, thank you. Councilmember Svirko-Goditsky.
Thank you, through the mayor, and thank you for the presentation. By the way, I am signed up for Recycle Tech. It's located on 1015 North Amplet. So what you do is you can get bags or boxes for glass, aluminum, or plastics, and then you can basically go drop off and get reimbursed for that. And it is a great program, so I encourage folks to really go check it out and invest in that. And you do get some money back. Now, I don't take rate increases lightly, but ultimately, if we didn't do this, is it my understanding then, residents would face steeper hikes because right now the city is actually covering those costs, subsidizing them.
So if we were not to increase the rates, then the city would have to come up with, it was about $1.17 million. This is a direct cost for services as was presented. I think it was a 4.4% increase on hauling costs. And then how much was it, Jack, for
7.5.
7.5 for the actual transfer station to go ahead and sort the trash. And those are just direct increases that we're receiving from not only the hauler, but the processor. And that's being passed down to the ratepayers.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Diaz-Nash.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack, and thank you to our public commenter. To the public commenter, what type of subsidized low-income rates might there be?
We are unable to do that because of Proposition 218. Every parcel has to pay the true cost of service. If you were to choose to offer such a reduced rate, it would have to come out of a fund other than the solid waste fund or solid waste rates.
Okay.
So through the mayor, basically, if we wanted to subsidize rates, it would we need direction from the council to use general fund dollars, which we are in a deficit currently. That's what we would need to do, and we'd have to establish basically a rate stabilization fund. If the council wanted to go in that direction, that'd have to be something we'd have to look at down the line for consideration by the council.
And I guess I would just say to the public commenter, I would also recommend that you and anyone who you know that feels this way start to advocate at the state level, because we are dealing with what the state has required and what was passed by the voters. So, our local assemblywoman, Diane Pappen, or our state senator, Josh Becker, their offices, I would recommend you reach out to them. But thank you very much for being here. One thing I've always wondered, every time I see the slide about where we are versus all the other cities, why is Foster City so far behind everybody else in San Carlos and Burlingame? How does that all work out?
I'm not employed by those cities, so I can't speak directly to it. However, the city is engaged in a cost of service phased-in implementation plan. That's why we are going up and attempting to meet our true costs of service. Given the commercial and residential mix of other cities, that would have a tendency to change those costs of service. There are other impacts such as the ease of ability of collection.
I think that's a bigger piece, actually, just to jump in here is that through my experience doing this is that your geography actually has a lot to do with it too. So if you're in a hilly area and they have to run the trucks up the hill and try to get to the trash. So all these things are dynamics that play, and they take that all into consideration, the hauler, when they're doing their bidding for the actual contract. And probably our friends at HF&H can probably speak more to it because this is their bread and butter. Rick Simonson or Gabe, anything to throw in on that?
Yeah, I mean, San Mateo also is the largest member agency of those within Rethink Waste. And so with a large commercial base, San Mateo bears, about 25% of the overall Rethink Waste costs. And so those were really determined by Recology when the franchise agreement went into effect. And those are not necessarily revisited. That proportionality is carried through year over year, all the way through the end of the franchise agreement, which ends in 2035. So that's Recology's portion, which is the largest portion that makes up your rates.
I'm particularly interested in the fact that none of that is revisited. I look forward to learning more about that. And as the new Recology member from the council, I would very much love to sit down with you and, number one, get educated, and number two, talk about that.
It will be a very interesting conversation.
Good. I look forward to it. I look forward to it. And then number three, I think it would be great if you could email the graphic that you just shared to the entire city council, because we will have opportunities where we can share it. And I would be happy to, at least. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Newsom.
Thank you. Through the mayor, a few questions. Adding on to what Councilmember Diaz-Nash just asked, are all the cities shown on slide 13 all using Recology, or? Okay. And is there anyone on the peninsula using a waste carrier other than Recology?
Yes, some people use Republic, and Atherton uses Green. I forget Green something.
Green waste, thank you.
But we're locked into contract till 2035?
We are.
Thank you. Do we know how the rates compare? So, we've seen other cities that are all using the same service, but do we know how the rates compare to people using Republic or Green Waste?
That information is available. It's not available to me to talk to you about right now. I don't know it. That would take some study and probably some analysis to make sure that we were giving you comparables.
Sure. I would just say, for this time, fine, but maybe next year when we have the same conversation, it'd be interesting to see how a few other services kind of overlay to the public speaker's point. When you have only one company, there is an opportunity for them to be charging more than maybe is fair. So we want to make sure that we're looking at other service providers of the same service and to see if that's kind of a similar rate.
I understand the concern. Just to be clear, though, the franchise agreement sets this out, and it is reviewed every year by Rethink Waste and an independent auditor. And things can only increase in the amount that the franchise agreement allows them to increase, which is based on the inflation rate in the Bay Area.
Okay, thank you. Are the rates completely tied to the black trash bin? Meaning, if I have I have a huge tree in my backyard, so I have a lot of compost in that tree. So if I have the largest green bin, but I have the smallest or second smallest black bin, is it based solely on the trash, the black bin rate?
For residential, everything is tied in together and it's based on the size of the black cart that you have. That is an historical thing that we've inherited. As mandates have gone into place, people are mandated to have recycling, mandated to have compost, and it would be up to a change in the franchise agreement to change that.
So what it does is that the black bin, that's the highest, most expensive piece. It's the tipping fees that you have at the landfill. And so when it's municipal solid waste, that's the highest tipping fee that you'll experience. And so basically they base that off of it. You'll see some cities, look at alternating, weeks of recycling to stop sending, one extra truck not having to go every week on the streets. But we're part of a bigger joint power authority with 11 jurisdictions. And so we're leveraging the purchasing power in order to try to get the best rates for our residents here. And so you do have a voice as part of that JPA, and I know that you'll be identifying the new member on the next item, actually, to represent our city. And so that's an opportunity to have continue to have a voice in these matters at the JPA. But we are there's guardrails in all of this too, as part of the agreement of how much you can, maneuver and operate.
Sure, thank you. My last question was, what services, under this are provided by the city? I know street sweeping is obviously a city cost. Is everything else an outsourced cost?
No, all of the activities of the solid waste program, litter abatement, construction and demolition waste management plans, there's a team of 5 of us who are providing things outside. The majority of my time is spent either on this or regulatory compliance, but there are many other programs that are funded by solid waste rates that aren't about collection, disposal, or processing.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
An example is like trash capture devices. It comes from here. Because that's, reducing the pollution out of our waterways and creeks, and we're collecting that waste and having to pull it out, so it doesn't go to the bay. So that's like another example of what we're going to do, just like our street sweeping.
All the e-waste and shredding events and the other special events that we have throughout the city, throughout the year.
I think the other thing that I've learned from this is that if you can downsize your black bin, at no extra cost, you can upsize your blue and green bin and lower your rate. And so that's something that, again, just needs to be continually educated.
Yes. That is the best way to divert waste from the landfill, which is the point of it all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Of course. Okay. I appreciate the questions that council members have asked already. I appreciate the public comment, and as the representative on Rethink Waste for the last 3 years, I would say that I feel in the presentation we got a sense to the public commenters' point of some of the breakdown of what sort of constitutes cost of service, in that we have collection service through Recology and various pieces to that, and we also have the recycling center in San Carlos where it accumulates and people are working there, and there's costs related to that. And then, as Mr. Johnson mentioned, the city has some of its own services. But I imagine a more detailed breakdown could be provided. So perhaps I can give you my card. And we can just make sure I'll see about trying to share a little more information if you're interested. And I agree with what Councilmember Newsom mentioned. At the risk of sounding, too basic on the point, one way to, if a household has a larger black bin, and is able to find a way to reduce waste such that they could opt into a smaller bin, that is still a way one could potentially reduce rates. And I appreciate the share on the J&D program. I think that's awesome because I know that's been a perennial topic here in our city. The CRV program has in previous years been facilitated by supermarkets and even smaller markets in our city, and yet it's been a challenge. There are issues with it, and so for a local business to take on more of it and provide a service that might be more convenient to our residents is awesome. So thank you very much for sharing that. I appreciate the work that's gone into the recommended increases, and I do appreciate that we do want to, of course, make sure that the city is not necessarily trying to find money through the general fund to provide for this service beyond the cost of service. And with that, I'll just ask the city clerk if we need to make a motion here, or what the next step would be.
No motion is required for this. Staff is just seeking general direction from the city council at this time.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments? Are we generally in favor of moving ahead?
I see 5 nodding heads. Thank you.
Excellent. That will conclude that item, and we'll move on to the 15th item, which is city council appointments to external agencies and liaison roles approval. And there's a presentation from our city clerk, Martin McTaggart.
Certainly. Good evening, Mayor Lorraine, City Council. My name is Martin McTaggart, and I have the privilege of serving as your city clerk. Tonight's presentation will be brief, but covers an important topic, which is the City Council's appointments to external agencies and liaison roles. For the public's awareness, in addition to the City Council's responsibilities, council members play an important role and serve as liaisons and appointees to external agencies.
Sorry, can we minimize talking, please?
Thank you. Our city council members play an important role as liaisons and appointees to external agencies and regional bodies, internal associations. And tonight's agenda item is to allow the city council to determine these assignments for the calendar year of 2026. Our recommendation is that council review and adopt the proposed 2026 list of city council appointments to external agencies, organizations, and liaison roles. Then we will move on to our process and timeline. So just a brief note regarding process and timeline for the establishment of this list. The procedures are adopted by City Council through our rules and procedures for how staff should proceed with this. And I wish to thank the City Council for your engagement in this process and helping facilitate a very smooth process to get us through to tonight. As was mentioned, this is an annual determination that begins with City Council reorganization, which occurred on December 1st, 2025. I then sent a memo to the City Council listing all of the available liaison roles and assignments. Council members submitted their preferences in ranked order by December 19th. Subsequently, the mayor and I met to discuss these arrangements and preferences with the objective of attempting to find a balanced list of assignments amongst the City Council members. Just to add a couple of caveats regarding the assignments, some are set in place within our rules and procedures. Specifically, certain assignments are designated specifically for the mayor and deputy mayor, as seen on this slide: the Legislative Committee, the Budget and Audit Committee, Planning Commission, City Council, City Selection Committee, and the mayor serves as the honorary chair to our Sister City Association. Continuity appointments. Over the years, city councils have determined that in the interest of serving in their roles, there's a strong need for consistency and continuity for council members participating with these bodies to have consistent representations. So the mayor is directed through this process to generally maintain the current council member assigned as liaison to that body, with exceptions, of course, due to challenges with availability and council members no longer wishing to serve on those bodies. And tonight's item is an opportunity for council to review this list, provide direction to staff if there's any additional designations for continuity appointments that may be required, and also to identify any new bodies that should be added to the list or remove those that no longer require to be on the list. I'll also just add a brief note regarding continuity assignments. Also require that an alternate be assigned, and the purpose there is to build in some succession planning in the event that the primary is no longer available to serve. The alternate has had an opportunity to get acquainted with the work program and also potentially attend meetings of that body. So just to give you a few examples, some of the continuity appointments we have for external agencies include City-County Association of Governments, Emergency Services Council, Peninsula Clean Energy, San Francisco Airport Community Roundtable, the San Mateo Consolidated Fire Department, South Bay Side Waste Management Authority, Rethink Waste, and the Chamber of Commerce and Downtown San Mateo Association, with internal continuity assignment being our Sustainability and Infrastructure Commission. I will now move on to go through the proposed list of 2026 assignments. There are a total of 39 assignments, so for full transparency, I will read through each assignment, so please bear with me as I do so. I will attempt to be as expeditious as possible. For 2026, for our Association of Bay Area Governments General Assembly, the assignment will be for Councilmember Newsom and Councilmember Nash as an alternate. City-County Association of Governments will be Councilmember Nash and Councilmember Sverko-Gaditsky as the alternate. Emergency Services Council will be Councilmember Newsom with Deputy Mayor Fernandez as the alternate. Grand Boulevard Task Force will be Deputy Mayor Fernandez and Councilmember Sverko-Gaditsky as the alternate. Peninsula Clean Energy will have Deputy Mayor Lorraine with Councilmember Nash as the alternate. Peninsula Traffic Congestion Relief Alliance will have Councilmember Newsom and Deputy Mayor Fernandez as the alternate. SF Airport Community Roundtable will be Councilmember Newsom with Councilmember Nash as the alternate. And Consolidated Fire Department will be Councilmember Newsom with Deputy Mayor Fernandez as the alternate. San Mateo County Council of Cities will be the mayor and alternate, which is Mayor Lorraine and Deputy Mayor Fernandez. And our San Mateo County Pre-Hospital Emergency Services Group will be Councilmember Newsom with Deputy Mayor Fernandez as the alternate. San Mateo Foster City Public Financing Authority, we will have Councilmember Sverko-Gaditsky, Mayor Lorraine as the alternate, with City Manager Kajikian also serving on that agency. South Bayside Waste Management Authority will have Councilmember Nash with Mayor Lorraine serving as an alternate. As was mentioned, the mayor and deputy mayor will continue to serve the roles of Audit and Budget Committee, Legislative Committee, and Council of City Selection Committee. Moving on to our proposed appointments for external liaisons, we'll have the city delegate to Assemblymember Papin will be Councilmember Nash. The city delegate to Congressman Mullen will be Deputy Mayor Fernandez. City delegate to Senator Becker will be Councilmember Newsom. Delegate to Board of Supervisor Noelia Corzo will be Councilmember Svirko Goditsky. The LPMG Local Policymakers Group will be Councilmember Svirko Goditsky and Deputy Mayor Fernandez as the alternate. Our Chamber of Commerce and DSMA will be Councilmember Nash and Deputy Mayor Fernandez as alternate. And we will also have for SAMCETA, Deputy Mayor Fernandez with Councilmember Nash as the alternate. Our San Mateo Foster City Elementary School Board and San Mateo Union High School District School Board will be Councilmember Newsom with Deputy Mayor Fernandez as an alternate. We'll also have San Mateo Police Activities League will be Councilmember Svirko Goditsky with Councilmember Nash as an alternate. We'll have in our Park and Rec Foundation, Councilmember Svirko Goditsky. San Mateo Public Library will be Councilmember Nash. And for our American Support in Americans, 101st Airborne will be Councilmember Nash. San Mateo Sister City Association, as was mentioned, will be our Mayor Lorraine. And then lastly, moving on to internal liaisons, these are our boards and commissions. These are largely unchanged, but we will have Councilmember Nash as to the Civic Arts Commission. We'll also have Mayor Lorraine for Community Relations Commission. Library Board will be Councilmember Nash. Measure S Oversight Committee will be Councilmember Svirko Goditsky. We'll have for the Park and Recreation Commission, Councilmember Newsom. For the Personnel Board, we will have Councilmember Svirko Goditsky. With Planning Commission, as was mentioned, that will be the Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Senior Advisory Commission will be Deputy Mayor Fernandez. Sustainability and Infrastructure Commission will be Councilmember Svirko Goditsky with Mayor Lorraine as the alternate. And lastly, our Youth Activities Council will be Mayor Lorraine. A brief note on these particular assignments for internal liaisons is the council will be aware to recent amendments to the Brown Act. Staff is in the process of implementing Senate Bill 707, which contains pretty significant amendments to a number of aspects in relation to the Brown Act, but one in particular in relation to two-way audio-visual requirements for the city's boards and commissions. So with a July 1st implementation deadline, staff is working in the clerk's office with our city attorney's office and IT, as well as the relevant departments' implementation of that. But just to note that that will be a process change both for staff and for commissioners, but it also offers an opportunity for additional public attendance virtually that otherwise may not have been available for those that previously did not have hybrid environment. So just a brief update on that. And then lastly, our recommendation is that we receive public comment. Council may ask questions and have comments on this item. And ultimately, staff is asking that the council review and provide direction on the 2026 appointments to external agencies, organizations, and liaisons. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you for that thorough presentation. And at this point, I'd like to open it up for public comment.
Mayor Lorraine, we have no requests to speak in chambers and no hands raised in our virtual environment.
In that case, I will close public comment and ask my council colleagues if they have any questions or comments. Councilmember Svirko Goditsky.
Thank you to the city clerk's office for putting that presentation together. I do have a couple questions and then some comments. I'm just curious what research we're doing into what our neighboring cities have in terms of other committees or potentially initiatives that we should be considering to add to this list.
In terms of external appointees?
Correct.
So throughout our process, we've Typically, when we brought this item to City Council, if there are additional organizations or agencies that aren't factored into this, Council has an opportunity during this review to make modifications. We haven't to date consulted with other agencies regarding their processes and what other agencies they have. Some of that may be relevant to us, some of it may be not relevant. But this is certainly an opportunity for Council, if there's any agencies that aren't represented, to be added to this process, or if those have become redundant, to be removed. And the process has changed over the years, and it's not to say that it's confined to this particular review. Council members can also make changes throughout the course of the year during reports and announcements to let staff know, hey, this agency no longer meets, or I feel that we don't need to have an appointee for this agency. So limited interaction with other agencies, but we're definitely here to engage with Council on this.
Would it make sense, and I don't know if DSMA is, the liaison for DSMA is appropriate, but given that the World Cup is coming up, to have some sort of special event liaison for 2026?
We would be interested to take direction from Council. If there was a majority, we could add that to our list.
Well, I'll come back to that. I do have feedback from my council colleagues, including myself. So I have to say, I'm very frustrated by the liaison appointment process. As a new council member coming in 2026, or 2025, 2024, 2025, thank you. I didn't understand really the continuity aspect. I feel like that's a really big piece, because I've been assigned to be a liaison or appointee to a lot of groups that don't meet. And so I just feel like I'm doing a role that isn't quite contributing. Whereas other people have a lot of exciting appointments, and they get to contribute quite a bit. So that's definitely a personal frustration, 2 years in a row now. Second, we're all assigned to these groups. Some of them are very important. CCAG, ABAG, the Grand Boulevard is going to become more and more important of a discussion. And none of us in reports and announcements, I think, are consistent or good about coming back and communicating out to our council colleagues about what we're actually learning and how that's going to impact the city and our future decision-making. So I would ask that if we're going to have these assignments, that we actually do our due diligence and come back after those meetings and communicate. I think the other point that I'm concerned about is it seems like there are some oversight committees that, like Measure S, that are meeting, but it's not being flagged to the council's attention. And those are really important oversight committees, because we agree when we do taxes or ballot measures that there will be oversight, and that the constituents will, make sure that the council is holding the city accountable for where those dollars are going. And so I'm frustrated as the liaison 2 years in a row for Measure S that I wasn't even aware that there was meetings last year. And on that point, I think since we are changing different appointments and liaisons, there needs to be a process and a system in place to actually transition between ourselves. Adam Lorraine is the only person that sat down with me last year and actually went through, hey, you're going to be on the Hope IAC, here's what you need to know about this group. And so it just seems like we don't have a very streamlined process, and I personally don't know why I'm on some of these groups or committees and what my responsibilities are. So I'm just, I have to share my concern about this with all of you, because it's like I'm being assigned something and then the year goes by and I'm not clear what my role is. And then I go to these meetings and, there's no real communication on the dais or to the community about what that potential impact is. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Do we have others who wish to ask questions or comment? Councilmember Newsom?
Very small comment. But I think, last year was definitely a struggle in the mayor's role, and I'm sure Adam will go through it this year, and I'm sure Lisa did the year before. But I got help last year for scheduling, and now I'm like, well, now how do I operate without help for scheduling? So, to Danielle's point, a lot of these meetings that we are commissioners on or advisors to, they have meetings quarterly or twice a year, et cetera. It would be really helpful if we could have some sort of a master calendar that was saying, okay, the appointee for this is Rob and his alternate is Lisa, and then it's on my calendar. And that gives me the visibility to say, okay, I'm not going to be able to attend. We get Lisa to be able to go instead. And I think, one of the things that's been frustrating for me, not just last year, but the whole last 3 years is I will be unable to go to something and I'll know it 6 weeks in advance, but then my alternate also can't go, and it becomes challenging. So, and it also is challenging in that the way these things are scheduled is all over the place. Some boards and commissions are great. They say, you get multiple month updates, and others, it's like, I didn't even know that happened. And I know it's very important that we do go to these, and I really give all my earnest to get to all of my committee meetings that I'm assigned to. But, we all have full-time jobs, and it's very hard to balance all these moving schedules. And so I guess there's not really an ask here as much as maybe there's an ask, which is if the clerk's office could help us try to come up with a way to better schedule the whole council, I'm sure that would be something that would be beneficial to everyone.
Maybe just on that point, some of the agencies that we're appointing today, like CCAG and ABAG, they have separate administrative staff, whether it be through the county. We currently don't get looped into the scheduling, so they don't reach out to us to say, we plan to have X number of meetings. They reach out typically more directly to the council members that are assigned to those agencies. What we can commit to is reaching out and just giving that feedback that we've had some challenges as far as just communication of regular schedules, and we can request that they share that information more directly with us, and we can use that to populate some of our internal planning materials and resources, such as the City Council's event planning calendar. So we could certainly look into ways that we could be more supportive to the council.
Yeah, that's really all I'm asking. Is anything you guys can do to help, bolster us would be really appreciated.
Certainly.
Thank you. Yes, Deputy Mayor Fernandez.
And just on my end, I just want to thank the city clerk's office for you're putting Tetris pieces together, so we very much appreciate the work that you do with Mayor Lorraine. And again, just as your deputy, I just want to make sure that I offer my input. I just want to, if I'm available, if you ever need to do anything like this again, I look forward to partnering with you on the commissions that we liaise together. And in the future, I would love the council to consider perhaps codifying, having the deputy mayor be part of the committee assignment process, because I think sometimes two heads are better than one. Sometimes the deputy mayor may know things that the mayor doesn't, or the mayor they need to run ideas by each other for scheduling purposes or whatever. But I would love to see the council codify or include the deputy mayor in the planning of this.
Seeing 3 nodding heads on that to bring it back. Okay, I see 5 nodding heads. So we'll go ahead and bring that back up when it's time for rules and procedure updates.
Thank you. Very good. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Well, first, I want to thank those who gave some comments tonight on this. Frankly, I think this is the most robust conversation a city council in San Mateo has had on this item, and it sounds like it's It's been a little deferred, and so I'm glad we're talking about it. I think the concerns that have been raised are reasonable. I think they make sense, and I think that firstly, I think Maybe I'll try to ask a question or two with the city clerk based on what I feel I've heard. Maybe if you have thoughts on how we could get more input from our council members on their experiences with their assignments included in this process.
I think, as Councilmember Sverko-Goditsky had mentioned, through reports and announcements during our regular city council meetings, that may be a good opportunity for council members to share out some of their experiences, positive or negative or indifferent, just to have frequent check-ins. As far as what's built into this annual review is an opportunity for that feedback and for us to take a look at some of these agencies. And as was mentioned earlier, this has evolved over the years. There's agencies that have become redundant, or there's been assignments that have become redundant, and some of that just ebbs and flows with the nature of the work that they do. Sometimes becomes more important, and other assignments get completed, so there's no need to continue those. So you may see fluctuations year on year, with some assignments being more demanding from council members than others. So I think we have a built-in mechanism to review, and as was mentioned earlier, council can make changes to this process at any time, whether it be through directing staff to make changes, as we added the Police Activities League, 101st Airborne, the foundations for Park and Recreation, and the library. So we can make changes pretty much at any time at council's direction, and the process can be amended during our annual Rules and Procedures cleanup item as well.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah.
If I may, I think what would help is on the list, having not just continuity, but actually, Measure S meets once a year, public financing doesn't meet, for example, personnel doesn't meet, because then the person who's assigning the assignments would go, interesting, so I'm assigning one person a bunch of roles that don't have meetings.
So what we could do potentially is be able to, because all those, like personnel board, it's when we have an issue per our municipal code, and, we have to convene as a group. And so I think what we can do through to the city clerk is we can tabulate all that for how many meetings have taken place in the previous year, so that you can kind of see and get a gist of what's going on. Like the Public Financing Committee didn't meet in this last year, but I know we have a meeting, I think, scheduled in the next probably 4 or 5 weeks. We're going to get together with Foster City because it's part of our wastewater treatment plant. But then we can tabulate that at the end. Speaking to just overall updates, one thing that we can look at, I know we just call it reports and announcements, but we could also say committee updates to be very deliberate as a reminder for the whole council that, this is the time to be able to provide those updates, that things that rise to the top based off of your committee assignments, where it's good for everybody, the full council to hear and staff to hear what's going on a regional perspective. I think that's something that we can look at doing. I see a nodding head from our city clerk, and I see nodding heads from the full council here as well. Does that work for the group?
Yeah, and might I propose, it's not, I feel like there are a number of suggestions that have been brought forth here that could get considered as we review our rules and procedures, but I think leading up to it, I feel like I'd like to propose if there might be an opportunity to have like an ad hoc council committee to sort of draft out some potential proposed changes. I guess like as an example, I feel like Councilmember Sverko-Goditsky, you mentioned having maybe a different standard for that reporting. City manager just addressed that, but I think also having like just like an expectation for when transferring a role to another council member, what would be a best practice for ensuring that the next council member is set up for success, things of that nature. I wonder if anyone, I'm frankly going to ask you if you'd like to be on an ad hoc committee to discuss that in between and see if anyone has any or would like to be on that, or, yeah. Just checking. Does that sound, do you think that would help?
Yes.
Okay,
This has to evolve.
I agree. Okay.
I'd be willing to help as well.
Ooh.
So you have to.
There's a committee.
Oh, there's a delegation opportunity. Yeah, because I think for Brown Act reasons, we would want two members on it. Are you volunteering, Councilmember Newsom?
Sound like no one else was volunteering, but
Oh, no, yeah, I would be happy to be a part of it.
either way.
Oh, very good.
If you want to do it, great. And if
All right.
you need me, I'm happy to.
All right, why don't I make you my alternate in case?
All right. There you go. Alternate in case one of you drops out.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm not part of this committee. Best of luck to all of you. We appreciate you guys investing the time. Could we perhaps have this, in partnership with what Councilmember Svirko-Guditsky said, could we potentially have the city clerk reach out to your colleague city clerks and find out sort of what they do to maintain these, what the best practices are if you're going to be helping us schedule these meetings?
Certainly, would be happy to do so.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right.
Formal action.
Just before we do that, Councilmember Svirko-Guditsky had mentioned another addition to our liaison assignment or a potential interest in adding one for
yes, thank you.
special events. Is that something the council would like to proceed with?
I mean, the World Cup is coming in end of February, March, but if we're going to do something in the city level, like, we should have someone that's liaisoning with DSMA, SAMCETA, different businesses, et cetera. And then, again, reporting back to the council on what's the game plan.
To Councilmember Svirko-Guditsky's point, I do understand what she's saying with that. It does feel like having an official council liaison for what might be one event or World Cup finals or whatever's that in July or whatever the Super Bowl. It feels like it might be a little overcomplicating matters. Can we maybe ask our city manager to have our economic development manager perhaps have a focused discussion with
Yeah, we're happy to. So they're already having those discussions. There's planning underway for both events, and so we can provide an update as to what the initiatives are that we're taking on, and we're collaborating with partners across the city for both events. So we'll get an update to you guys.
Yeah, I also wonder if this might be, facilitated a little or supported by more detailed reports and announcements from like a DSMA liaison on what is happening there and SAMCETA on what's happening there with regard to that and or other events that may come up. Okay, so yes, I think that would be, I would be supportive of staff suggestion there.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
I move acceptance of the boards and commissions report.
Second.
Excellent. Thank you for that second. And City Clerk, may we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Certainly. Deputy Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Newsom?
Yes.
Councilmember Diaz-Nash?
Yes.
Councilmember Svirko-Guditsky?
Am I allowed to abstain?
Yes.
Okay, I abstain.
Mayor Lorraine?
Yes.
The motion carries 4-0.
And I'm abstaining because I think it's great we're going to put a committee together, but until these things are mapped out and balanced, my community is going to get the short end of the stick again, where, there's different groups and commissions and they're not getting represented.
Well, I feel inclined to just mention that when I engaged in the process this year with the city clerk, I did hear from staff that there was interest in rebalancing, that there was interest in adding roles of more substance to newer council members. And I worked with the city clerk on doing just that. And so I do feel that I did what I could to help the process beginning this year toward that end. And I look forward to future discussions in an ad hoc committee leading up to rules and procedures to see if we can do better than that going forward.
Thank you.
And thus concludes item 15. And now we will head to closed session. Well, I guess we might have reports and announcements first, yeah?
We can take reports and announcements before going to closed session.
Very good. Does anyone have any reports and announcements?
I do. Is that
Please,
okay?
go ahead.
Great, thank you. So over December, early January, we did have several days of heavy storms. I do want to thank the public works staff, especially those on the stormwater and on the police station, for all your efforts, as well as emergency services across the city and the county. I also did ask Abby, our head of finance for the city, to do some auditing on the stormwater fee. And she did get back to me along with other residents that had questions. And it was great to see the transparency and kind of how the city is forecasting and planning for the stormwater initiative. Since then, I've asked her similar questions about Measure S and other committees, and she's been very quick to respond, which is great. Last week was National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, so I just wanted to recognize our San Mateo PD. Thank you for all your efforts and keeping the community safe. And then I did just want to remind everybody that on January 21st, there is a workshop for the historic ordinance where we'll be taking community input. It's from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And you can RSVP on the city website. So.
And the context statement.
And the context statement. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Councilmember Spirko-Kaditsky. Any other reports and announcements? Well, I have a few I'd like to share. Firstly, it was my pleasure to represent the city in a ribbon cutting for Mi Second Casa, which is opening it opened its second location. So there is an in-home childcare in Shoreview. That was the first Mi Second Casa, and we now have a Spanish immersion education center and infant care center on San Mateo Drive at 847 North San Mateo Drive. So Saturday, there was the ribbon cutting for that, and I was particularly pleased to be there as it was the culmination of some effort from the city and city council. The city was a partner in this. It provided about $1 million in a loan for through the Child Care Facilities Fund, which is an impact fee that comes from new developments in our city to help them renovate that building, the property that now houses an area that has special areas for infants and then older children, a nice backyard, and educational facilities and resources. So if you're interested in checking that out, to me, I think it's just another example of a project that contributes somewhat like the Cary School Early Development Center item we had today to help us meet the child care crisis we have, help plugging gaps and providing services for our citizens as we grow and add housing so that the families have access to those services. I also had the pleasure of attending an event for the Asaya Shriners, who have a temple about a block away from City Hall. They had their 143rd installation of nobles, and I got an education from those sitting around my table, which included executives related to the hospital, Shriners Children's Hospital in Northern California in Sacramento, which are providing top-tier burn care and spinal procedures. There was a patient ambassador at my table who was 18 years old, received was treatment for scoliosis at no cost, and now she's a freshman at Santa Clara University and thriving. So if you're interested in learning more about what they do, I thanked them for, I think, our shared vision in ensuring that there's a high quality of life in our city and community for all. And they can be found at asayashriners.com. It's ASIYA. And they're also, as I mentioned, at 1925 Elkhorn Court, just right by City Hall. And additionally, I just ask folks to please consider attending a celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. Day this coming Monday, January 19th, in the downtown San Mateo Caltrain station before the Freedom Train, which is an annual event on the day that Caltrain helps sponsor. People can take a special Caltrain that goes to San Francisco, and of course there are events in San Francisco as well. But if you come to downtown San Mateo Caltrain station between about 8:30 to 10 a.m., there will be tables from, we got North Central's Neighborhood Association and BAC-HAC, and Supervisor Corzo's office and Gaucher's office will be there, and I will be there, if that's interesting to you. So those are my reports and announcements for now, and with that, we will move to closed session. So the council will go to a separate room in the library and meet on closed session items. I can ask if we have any, well, I guess first I'll note before we move to closed session, a gentle reminder, the stairwell is closed now. Use the elevator, please. And so we have item 16, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, and item 17, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. City Clerk, do we happen to have any requests to speak on those items before we move to closed session?
No requests to speak in our virtual environment or in the room.
Very good. And following closed session, just a reminder to council, we will reconvene to report back and then adjourn the meeting. So we will now go there. Thank you.
Yeah.
A report from the city attorney. Oh,
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
okay, well, thank you. Yes, we have returned from closed session and now can hear a quick report out from the city attorney.
Yes, thank you. During the last closed session item, the city council unanimously voted to initiate litigation in one matter. The name of the action, the defendants, and the other particulars shall, once formally commenced, be disclosed to any person upon inquiry. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you.